Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Moms Like Me podcast powered by Support Now. Today, we have such a special guest with us, one that is going to offer a brand new perspective on all things momming, parenting, and frankly, entrepreneurship as well, which of course is very, very close to my heart. Today, we're joined by Monica Fullerton, and Monica is, let's put it bluntly, she's a badass. She wears so many hats. She's been named to more lists than you can imagine, the Forbes Next 1,000 list, the Mighty 25. She's also involved with this great group called Entrepreneurship. And she's someone that I have admired from afar for over a year now, because while we do very different things in our businesses, it's very much mission aligned. So Monica, first of all, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining today.
Well, thanks so much, Jordan, for having me. And that was like the sweetest intro ever, and huge fan of you as well. And I feel like that's the best part about this journey is meeting one another and being able to help each other continue to push forward. So excited
You're sweet. Well, I left out the best part. You're also you're a wife. Your husband is an active duty. I think that just is a whole nother layer that people kind of struggle to understand. It's like, how do you balance all of this as well as having your husband in the Air Force? So you're in this military community, you know all about support. But to start, I'd love for you to share just a little bit more about your story, kind of what got you into Spousely, your company, and kind of what's driving you and all of this.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll do it really quick because I want to take you all the way back because I think it's really important about my story and what has led me to where I'm at today. So born and raised in a small town in Ohio, set off to college with big dreams of becoming the next Oprah. Just always so inspired by the power of communication and how you could use communication to help inspire one another through storytelling. And so I went to school for broadcasting and communications in South Florida, in Boca Raton, actually, and absolutely fell in love with the area, loved Florida, loved everything about it. So I strategically went there knowing that I was going to make that be my forever place where I would build up my career. And life, has a way of mixing things up for us. And so while I was I was in my master's at the time, and I ended up getting back together with my high school sweetheart who was from the small town in Ohio, because him and I just always have stayed friends. And, we both went our separate ways after we left that small town. He went to school in Colorado and I went to school in Florida. And so we just, always kept that relationship going from a friend standpoint. But when he was finishing up schooling and going through ROTC, he was about to commission into the Air Force. And I was finishing up my master's, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Because I never had this in my plan to live the military life, but I really still have so much love for this person. Like, he is like, to be able to meet someone like that at such a young age and still have that connection, I was like, I think I have to go with love, and I'll figure out how to make my career work around it. So my first thing that I was thinking was, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to have a broadcasting and communications career while living the military life. And for those that might not know what the military life looks like, it usually involves moving every 2 to 3 years. And so oftentimes that's super challenging for career-driven spouses like myself that want to be able to, have fulfill their own passions and dreams and goals. And so long story short, I just remember thinking, like, who am I? Like, what kind of role am I going to go into? What kind of job am I going to look for now after this? And so after getting a really great corporate career, working my way up in a completely different industry, I started to realize, like, I want to be able to align my passions with everything that I do, but how can I do it while living the military life? And so one thing led to another, and I ended up launching Spousely, which is basically an online marketplace to shop and support military and first responder-owned businesses. And it all stemmed from my own pure frustration and inspiration of, I want to continue to help empower other spouses, other service members, other, first responders, whoever it might be, that you can do what you love while living a life on the go. And so that's kind of led me to where I'm at today. And it's been just such an incredible journey But the reason I wanted to share all that is because I feel like, I'm sure similar to yourself, is oftentimes we create companies in order to help others from something that we've gone through personally ourselves.
It's such a beautiful example of how you can take your natural skills and your ambition and just channel that in a different way. And there is such a desire, I find, from people. They want to support the military, they want to support people in active duty. And that can look differently depending on the situation. You're just offering kind of like a new perspective on that support, because what most people might not realize, or maybe they do, is that when you have a spouse or a partner in the military in active duty, it affects the entire unit.
And I always say when one person serves, the entire family serves too, from our children to us, to our extended family, grandparents, everybody, because you got to think about all the factors that are involved with a military life and not being in one place for so long. You're raising children that don't get to grow up with grandparents, down the road, and all of the different factors. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think it is so important, because really when one person serves, the entire family does too.
I want to take this conversation kind of like deviate a little bit here, but I am curious, how difficult in your experience is it to build community when you're constantly on the fly? It's difficult to establish roots.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about what that's like and kind of what you've learned along the way that kind of helps cut against perhaps the frustration or awkwardness that comes from being new to a city.
Yeah, and that's such a great question, because that's exactly what I was feeling when we got stationed at our first duty station, which was in San Antonio, Texas. I was so lost, just because obviously I had just left all of my friends and all of the community that I worked so hard to build in Florida. And now I'm in this new place. And it was really challenging, because I was attending some of the different spouse events on base and, trying to get involved in the on base military community. We didn't live on base, but just they offer different, initiatives and things like that to help try to bring people together. And I never felt like I fit in. And it was because I'm so driven by my own success and everything, that I've always wanted to go into entrepreneurship, and I didn't feel like I connected. I didn't find my tribe right away. And so it kind of led me to really actually not telling anybody I was a military spouse, because I didn't want it to hinder, for me to get a really great job and to maybe be limited to what that might look like. And I remember thinking, that's not a good feeling. I'm proud to be here. I am so excited for this journey, but it's really hard to find your people. And so what I personally turned to was, which is why I created Spousely, was I'm going to find other people out there like myself that are very passionate about, small business, wanting to, bring their hopes and dreams to life while also navigating all of the challenges in between. And so what happened was I actually created a Facebook group before I even launched Spousely. And I was like, okay, here's my idea. I'm just going to add anybody into it that maybe would resonate with this. And then literally within the first few weeks, we had about 1,000 people in that group. And it really showed me the power of building community with like-minded individuals. It can be very challenging, but at the same time, your people are out there. And that is something that I always want to stress to those that might be feeling lost or feeling like they haven't quite found their people, is that they are out there and you can bring everybody together. And the best way is just to be your authentic self and never feel like you have to hide who you are.
It sounds like originally, you set out to build this because of your own ambition and your own dreams. And I think we both know that we're always all recreating ourselves. You can recreate yourself at any moment. I mean, I know so many moms, I'm sure you do as well, both in the military community and beyond, that didn't think they had an ambition, didn't think they had an idea, didn't think they wanted to be an entrepreneur. And suddenly they come across an idea or they have a problem they want to solve. And now you're giving them a place to frankly kind of deposit that energy in a way that maybe they didn't think was possible because it felt too out of reach. In this capacity, this is a very safe space for them, not just to have a place to sell products and services and things of that sort, but also to be a part of another group of women. Again, maybe they're not like you, where they've always had a passion to build or always had but they've now found themselves. They need something for themselves, which is so hard as a mom. I mean, you know this. It is so hard as moms, especially when your kids are young, to feel like you have something for yourself. It's like,
Yes.
I always say this, the worst question someone can ask me, like my least favorite question in the world is, what do you like to do in your spare
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I have so many different like areas going on in my brain. Like, let me figure out which one.
I have no idea how to answer that question because it feels like you're either on with your kids, if you're a working mom, you have your job. There's not a lot of space
Yeah.
and bandwidth in between.
Yeah. And so you mentioned something that's personally my favorite thing. And I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of moms just like us that are very like, okay, I really, I love being a mom, but I also really want to try to find like my own thing, something that I can call mine. And that really truly is my favorite like part of the journey is helping other women really see that I can do this, which is why the podcast that I have, it's called I'm Possible. And it's basically turning the word impossible into I'm possible. And I think the biggest thing that you touched on is that oftentimes it can be so overwhelming and you don't really know where to start. But the biggest thing there is you're not alone. And specifically with Spousely, that's what we always talk about. Like, it's more than just a place to sell your products and services. It is a community supporting and championing one another along the way. Honestly, that's my favorite part, which is actually why I just recently launched an online course. It's called Build, Launch, and Thrive. It's called a BLT course, and it's specifically for that stage of those that have an idea or a hobby and they want to turn it into an online business. It basically helps them through all of that journey, and I'm so excited about it because normally I'm never like, I hate like selling or like self-promoting or anything, but for me, it's like if I can help encourage more moms specifically, or more women especially, to see that you can turn something so small, an idea, a thought, a hobby, whatever it might be, into something so rewarding and fulfilling in so many different ways.
You've mentioned that you're a mom. I touched on it as well. Tell us, how many kids do you have? Like, give us like the situation. Give us like the mom side of Monica.
Yeah, so this is something actually I'm not sure if you know about my story, but I'm a twin mom and I have a boy and girl, and they were actually NICU babies. So I wanted to say thank you for everything that you guys do to help NICU moms and families, because that was honestly the hardest part of just anything that I've ever gone through was, having these tiny little babies and then not being able to go home with them for 37 days.
Mm.
They were 31 weekers. So
Wow.
it was a journey. And I feel like everything that we go through in life helps prepare us for the next thing. And it has made not only me stronger as a person, but it has made them stronger too. Like, they are such routine babies. We're a routine family. They're so strong. They're like so healthy. They're fighters. And I'm like, I swear it's because they were just like these tiny little 3-pounders that had to fight from the second they came into the world. And so, yes, I'm a twin mom, and we're the M&M family. Everybody has M's in our family. So it's been a fun journey. They're in 3rd grade now.
Monica, where was your husband actively in the Air Force when you had the babies? Was he home? Kind of what was that situation like for you?
Yeah. So, yep, we had the twins when we were stationed in Vegas, which is wild to say that my kids were born in Vegas. And he was around. He did have to deploy. I believe it was when they were probably, I don't know, they were still a few months old because I forget when it was, but I mean, it was a whole operation just because, like I mentioned earlier, you don't have family nearby and you have to really rotate family to come travel out. We had a nanny. Like, there was just a lot going on because I had 6 months off of work, which I'm very grateful for. I was actually just talking to my husband about that this morning. I'm like, I'm so grateful for my job at the time because I had 6 months maternity leave,
Wow.
full pay, because the owner genuinely cared about his people. And sadly, he ended up passing away. But I always go back to the power of people and what we're able to do for one another, especially in different situations.
you mentioned this, but I want to touch on it again. You didn't have a ton of family in Vegas to support you. So like relying on community, I mean, were you able at that point, like, did you have friends in the Vegas area, or were you truly kind of like shipping people in from across the country to help you? Because I would imagine, I've heard this from multiple NICU families, sometimes bringing the babies home is the scariest part because
Yes.
you don't know what's going to happen. There's not, surveillance or 24/7. Like, how did you actually manage that?
Yes. So one thing about me, after I felt like I literally had nobody when we first moved to our duty station, I was like, okay, the biggest thing I'm going to do is I'm always going to find my tribe right away wherever we go because I never want to feel alone again. So thankfully, we had a really great support system, lots of friends, lots of, friends that become family and everything. So thankfully, we had the support that we needed during that time. I will say the biggest challenge was, I went right back into work after getting them home and, like after a month or two of them being home. And it was a struggle of just, balancing everything.
Let me ask you, for you, especially in those early days, what did you do to take a breath and to make sure that you didn't go crazy? Because I do think postpartum, both for working moms and non-working moms, it's a different experience. I had a situation from in my first, to be blunt, where I really struggled not to work, and
Yeah.
I sometimes struggled to connect with my first because
Yeah.
I missed my routine.
Yeah.
How did you kind of cope in that phase of life to make sure that you didn't lose your identity and still felt kind of that fulfillment during that phase of life? Or was it natural for you to kind of pour yourself completely into the twins?
Yeah, you just said it actually. What kept everything moving forward and aligned where it was pretty seamless was the routine. And I talk about how important a routine is all the time, especially when people ask me, how do you do it all? And I will say, like, for me personally, if I keep my foot on, like, the pedal to the metal and my foot is always on, that is where I'm thriving. If I take my foot off the gas and I allow myself to, like, slow down in a certain area, I really like go stir crazy and it totally throws me off of my normal routine. Like I am very used to thriving off of chaos. I love it. That's how I perform best. And so to be honest, actually like working the twins into the mix and like now adjusting to this new normal, because I've always worked from home. I've always worked remote. So I was very grateful for that. That allowed me to have, that peace and comfort. We had a nanny in the house. So I was able to come out and help, in between whenever I could, have lunch with them, things like that. And I do look back because if I did have a job where I was out of the house, it would be a much different situation. But because I've always worked from home, which is why I always love helping other women see that there are so many great leadership roles out there and you can make six-figure salaries and, do everything that you might be wanting to do. Don't ever like limit yourself on that thought that it's not available because it is. And I've been doing it for over a decade. So
Yeah, again, I relate to that. And again, I think this is important. It's why I love this podcast, that everyone has a different perspective on what motherhood and that, especially the early years, feels like. People find fulfillment in different ways, and how it's wild kind of how kids change us. For some, it pulls us from everything we thought we once wanted, and for others it pulls us closer to the things that we wanted, and that both are okay. And I think it's really important to kind of amplify both voices in the mom community, that if you're still feeling that ambition, that doesn't mean you should feel guilty for not staying home and your kids being, everything that you have. It just means that your family and your mode just kind of works differently than others. And again, both are okay. I'm
yes.
curious, Monica, how do you support people? Particularly those in the military community. Like, what is your support language? How do you like to show up for the people in your community that you see need help?
Yeah. So for me, it's all through the business angle, to be honest. And I think that that's an angle that oftentimes gets overmissed, which is gets missed because it's something that seems so like, okay, business, like really, but business, like owning a small business, finding out how to navigate it is truly one of my favorite superpowers because when you can, do what you love and be able to also connect the dots and fulfill all of your passions, it helps make you a better person, I believe, all around at home and in your professional life or whatever it might be. So my love language, or what did you call it?
Support language.
Support language, yes, because absolutely love that. Support language is really helping others shine. It's everywhere. It's on my Instagram. It's in all of my messaging. Is my favorite thing is helping others shine in business, and that is what truly drives me. I'm so passionate about that side. Maybe those that maybe haven't had ever, an itch for business, I feel like I sniff it right out of them. I really love to bring other people's talents to light and show them what they're capable of.
I love it. Can you give, I'm curious, like, is there one story that stands out to you that you're like, I helped this mom and she didn't think either she thought she could do it or she didn't think she could do it? Like, I'm sure there's hundreds, of course, in what you do, but is there, I would love to hear a
Yeah.
story where that really came to life.
One of my favorite recent stories is a mom in Vegas. She's been a stay-at-home mom, the entire time since having children, and she was just coming to me saying I would really love to have my own thing, but I don't really know what it is. And so I started seeing that she was doing all these balloon arches and all these elaborate balloon garlands and things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would never have the patience for that. You are so talented. You have to share this talent with others. And she was like, no, 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 I don't think that anybody would buy it and blah, 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 or whatever. And so literally the next day after telling her that, I created a logo, a brand guide, a website for her. I went to work that night. I put everything together for her and I sent it to her and I go, you're doing this because I know how much it will help you. And to this day, it's been, a few months now, and she has contracts with the top hotels now in Vegas. She's doing all these awesome parties, schools, churches, all the things that she loves. It's not like a crazy business to her where, she's having to work around the clock. She makes her own hours. She has her passion side hustle, and she's helping others bring joy into their life.
Yeah.
So that is one of my favorite recent stories because when I see her work, I get chills. I just got chills talking about it because for me, I'm not very talented when it comes to the actual talent. I could never put balloons together and make them look beautiful like that. I don't even think I could get 3 of them together. But I love seeing when other people have talents like that, and I want to help them see that they can share that gift with others and make them so excited and bring so much joy.
I love that story. And one of the things you didn't mention, but I feel like is a part of that is she also, you talked about how she can build her own hours. What you're saying is she also has the power to say no. Right.
Correct.
And I
And
think
that's
a
what
lot,
she's doing.
yeah. And I think a lot of what distracts or deters rather women or moms from kind of pursuing their ambitions is the idea that they have to, it's all in. And if you do this, that it's all that you're doing in addition to the momming thing, and it becomes really overwhelming. It's like, no, well, actually, owning your own business actually means that you get to define what you're working on when, as an entrepreneur. Of course, when you work for, companies and certainly bigger companies, it's harder to exert that ability to say no because there's a different agenda. But when you're in the driver's seat, you can, depending on the business, oftentimes kind of shape how this works within the life that you've already built, which opens up so many doors.
And you can do it all, to be honest. I'm also VP of partnerships at an AI data company that is amazing, that's helping real estate investors. And that is my full-time job right now. I decided to not be all in anymore on my journey with Spousely because it is self-running. It's doing everything that I built it to do. And I have an amazing team that you can never stop learning and growing. So for me, being able to prioritize my day to have a routine is now I've got the early mornings to do XYZ, and I've got the late evenings to do my own thing and fulfill all of my other passions. But in the meantime, you can also do other things too. You don't have to limit yourself to just one because it's all about prioritizing your day and your routine and making sure that you never live with regret. That's one of my biggest things is you have to be able to fulfill all the different buckets that bring you joy.
I love it. Monica, for anyone and everyone, I'm sure, that's listening, where can they find you? Where can they follow along? How can they support you?
Yes, I would say the best way is on LinkedIn. I absolutely love meeting new people, helping wherever I can, making connections. So find me on LinkedIn under Monica Fullerton, and would love to meet you and be a part of your journey too.
Wonderful. And as a parting note for those listening, we at Support Now are super passionate about supporting the military community. We know how challenging it can be going from place to place, having to establish a new community. And of course, along the way, you're having babies, you're going through major life moments. So if you're in the military community listening to this, or perhaps similar to Monica, you know someone with a NICU baby or is having a difficult time postpartum, please consider Support Now as a resource to use to really mobilize your community, whether that's money, meals, coordinating volunteers, or frankly, just sharing updates on your journey, because people can't help unless they know what's going on. And so much of the passion behind what we're doing here is bringing light to that and not being so afraid of asking for help and reaching out to your community, because I believe very firmly that that is what community is designed to do. Community is designed to serve. So, Monica, thank you so much. It was such a great time talking to you. I feel so connected to you and my own motherhood journey. So this was very refreshing for me as well, and look forward to following your journey both on LinkedIn and as well as continuing to support the work that you're doing through Spousely.
Thanks so much for having me, Jordan. It was awesome.